initiative aimed at combating child exploitation amid growing pressure from Washington. Now, we know that representatives from Facebook and Google were at the White House this morning to discuss the problem. Child exploitation has become the latest front in the battle over big tech.
Experts in child exploitation say tech companies are frustrating efforts to crack down on child abuse online.
A new effort to fight online child sexual abuse.
The Justice Department announcing a new initiative to ensure tech companies do more to try to fight
it. If the top tech companies in the world decided, we've had it, we are going to do something with this, we could significantly reduce the global distribution of child abuse material overnight.
Now, the companies agreed to work to prevent this kind of content from appearing on their platforms. They will take on online grooming and preparatory behavior.
We have the ability to do this, and this is what is so frustrating. In this society, we're protecting the business interests of the music and movie industry before that of children. How is this the world we're living in?
All right, so let me get this straight. Tech giants like Google and Microsoft, under pressure from the Justice Department, have banded together to help eliminate the scourge that is child abuse content on the internet. The mainstream media has covered the issue and has even gone so far as to say that technology companies are frustrating attempts to fix the problem, despite their promise to use state-of-the-art technology like image hashing and even the creation of brand new algorithm technologies to locate and target the offending content for removal. Tech companies are also working with law enforcement, most likely having access to their databases to cross-reference offending images using the applied digital fingerprints and hashing techniques that I just spoke about. Microsoft even provides the tool they use to combat this content to law enforcement itself. The parents of underage Instagram influence also know of the problem of pedophilia on the internet and social media, and are even aware of the fact that they operate out in the open using coded language. And yet simultaneously, they say the problem has never been worse, and in fact is growing exponentially. Does anyone else feel like we're maybe missing something here?
Quick audience participation. How many of you, raise your hands if you have one of these? Keep your hands up if you're quite attached to it.
When you're using a search engine to find the closest coffee shop, you're probably not thinking about the technology behind it all.
Usually when we think about brains, we think about the naturally occurring kind. But what we're going to talk about today is the prospect of building artificial brains.
Later, you might wonder, how did that search engine do that?
There are two fields that are exploding right now and are on a collision course with one another. On one hand, we have neuroscience, the study of the brain, and the other side, we have technology, and in particular, computer science.
But no matter what formula they use to determine rank, the goal remains the same: to try and connect the searcher with what they are looking for.
So an artificial neural network is something that it's a rough mathematical cartoon of how a biological neural network works. In a biological brain, we have individual cells called neurons. Each neuron looks at what its neighbors has to say and then decide what it wants to say. And in artificial neural networks, we have little mathematical functions. We put them in some organized structure, and then we say, okay, you guys all together, learn to do this task.
We have lots of neural nets that are really great at going and recognizing, this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a frog, this is a mouse, this is a horse, this is a truck, and things like that.
So take, for example, trying to recognize what this is.
So it used to be that we were really proud if we could get a neural net with 3 layers to work. And it's recently that we've made a lot of progress on techniques that allow us to train much deeper neural nets.
And that's why this kind of machine learning is also called deep learning.
And suddenly you can go and ask, neural net, what do you think a cat looks like?
Object detection is a computer vision technique for locating instances of objects within images or video. Object detection techniques train predictive models or use template matching to locate and classify objects. Object detection is a key technology behind applications like video surveillance, image retrieval systems, and advanced driver assistance systems. There are a variety of techniques that can be used to perform object detection. Object detection using deep learning, object detection using machine learning, and object detection using classical computer vision techniques.
I think it's starting to come together for me now. When I started this project, and as time went on, I began to get the sense that something far more complex was happening beneath the surface with every search that was conducted. You start to get the feeling that you're being algorithmically guided to more narrow, more specific digital hellscapes with every single related image, every single suggestion bubble, curated just for you by technology companies. The same technology companies that, in 2013, claimed to have been building state-of-the-art technologies and brand new algorithms solely dedicated to eliminating this horrible content from the web, but 7 years later, seem to have only gotten better at finding it for you. I demonstrated the usage of what I called adhesive search terms and how the algorithms repeatedly behaved in strange ways as a result of searching for them, not only finding hidden content, but giving us duplicate results across different websites, indicating to us that indeed the search browser technology is pulling the images from a network hosting a finite amount of this child abuse material. The thing is, the more you begin to look into how adhesive search terms make the search browsers behave, the more you begin to recognize the algorithm's seemingly predictive capability. That's of course on top of their already top-tier suggested and related images functions, which are like digital fast tracks to the source material. Take for instance the adhesive search terms like convert image tag, or URL image link, or YVM, or any other. At one point during the search for those terms, we were given a related images box that included not only SRC USA, which was a term I had not searched for through the duration of all of this, but also a variation or a mixing of image source HTML kids. What can possibly be responsible for this? And this is intriguing, the HTML part I mean, given the fact that image source, IMG, SRC, in HTML is the line of coding or close to it that's responsible for hosting and embedding images on websites. From what I've seen, it truly appears as if the search browser algorithms for big companies like Google, Bing, and Yandex have begun to use smarter technology for their search browser algorithms, powered by new technologies that utilize machine learning, artificial intelligence, and neural networks, all of which have one thing in common. They only become effective after being trained by users like you and I. The reason the searches became so efficient at finding this terrible content over time is because their neural networks, their artificial brains, their machine learning tech, whatever it is you want to call them, it's being taught to retrieve child abuse content by the child abusers and pedophiles themselves. And with every passing day, with every single search, the machines are growing better and smarter at retrieving this content. and identifying it through visual cues, object detection, visual algorithms, visual recognition. We're far beyond text-related image retrieval at this point. The popular joke is that one day the machines would become self-aware, but I don't think anybody ever anticipated them becoming pedophiles first. There's two remaining questions though. Where does all of this content originate from to begin with? And I also mentioned earlier in this video that there's a pedophile pipeline that connects Instagram, hidden pedophile communities on the surface web like ImageSource, and the dark web. But how are they connected?
The UK's National Crime Agency says over 300 arrests have been made across 38 countries following the takedown of the largest dark web child porn marketplace.
Besides drug and arms trafficking, child porn is sadly among the most popular content on the darknet.
With the cooperation of 32 countries, including South Korea and the United States, authorities were able to track down those suspected of purchasing child pornography using cryptocurrency.
The images come to us from a variety of sources. So they either come from our field agents who do search warrants and seize computers, do forensic analysis on the computers or devices. Phones now are obviously popular. And what they're looking for is images that have never been seen before, which means they're new victims. There are victims who are being abused and who have not been identified or rescued. What we do here is we take all those images, we break down the background, the logos, anything you can think of in an image that you're not seeing, right? We have to look past the victim and look at everything else as well and see what we can pick out. So it takes an investigator looking at it and then in combination with the technology to be able to figure out, how can we identify the people and the place in this image.
The content is from the dark web, and in fact many of the images you saw here today are from collections on the dark web produced by people or groups that have been dismantled and arrested. For instance, the term Babko discovered on ImageSource is referring to Masha Babko, who was a Russian victim of a child porn ring, seen here in a television interview. This girl, known as Cat Goddess on the dark web, is another young Russian or Ukrainian girl who was victimized by a family member, the pictures and videos of which were uploaded onto the dark web and still circulate to this day. The family member that abused her was also arrested. Lastly, you might remember Lexi, one of the Instagram influencers I had discovered after exploring Rebel Athletics' page on Instagram. I showed an image of her modeling Rebel Athletic clothing. At the time, I had flagged her account as suspicious just due to the type of photo she uploaded. This is a screenshot obtained by a viewer of a dark web forum requesting nude images of Lexi, alleging that those images do exist, and further examination of this thread proves just how familiar these pedophiles are with the very same group of underage Instagram influencers that I had depicted in the first part of this video. Pedophiles on the dark web are actively trying to obtain nude images through blackmail and other stealthy means in order to collect and share with their friends on the dark web. They're being actively hunted. So, to sum it all up, I accidentally stumbled on a group of underage Instagram influencers that include tons of Russian child models and turned out to be the source of content that pedophiles collect and share on the Russian website ImageSource, which is composed of images originating on the dark web but are viewable to pedophiles that use adhesive search terms like Source USA in order to access the actual source material on the surface web. Huh.